When the Lord gave revelation concerning the saints and the Shakers in Doctrine and Covenants, section 49, he mentioned that they, the Shakers, quote, desired to know the truth in part, but not all, close quote. They had been seeking more of the word of Christ, and ultimately in the epilogue of the story, when given it, their leader refused. In my own life, especially in these racially tense times, people have expressed desire to be part of the solution when it comes to abandoning attitudes and actions of prejudice. Mere days ago, my friend Derek and I spent hours on the phone with someone who endeavored to be part of the solution. Derek and I are theologians and members of marginalized groups, and we have literal years between us of doing justice and reconciliation work in the name of Christ. The person we were talking to was straight, white, and male, was not a theologian, was new to this conversation, and yet still somehow felt he knew better than we did how to deal with bigotry, and ultimately did not take to heart any of the things which we told him. Like the rich young ruler, he presented himself as a disciple, and as a disciple of Christ, committed to living out the first and second great commandments, of which fighting bigotry is a natural outgrowth. Instead, he acted as David did to Uriah by sending my friend Derek to the front of the battle and withdrawing his support. Like the Shakers in section 49 and most would-be allies in the fight against attitudes and actions of prejudice, this person we spoke to desired the truth in part, but not all. And why they didn't want all the truth is because the truth required changes that would be more in line with discipleship, changes that would be uncomfortable. The Israelites, after receiving the 10 Commandments, they asked that the Lord not speak anymore lest they die. And Nephi pointed out that the guilty take the truth to be hard after noting Laman and Lemuel's discomfort with his words. If you're watching this class, it's because you're ready to embrace that discomfort for the sake of receiving truth and recognizing the imago Dei in all people. I'm a theologian, an activist, and a lifelong member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. I spent a decent amount of time teaching others how to fight attitudes and actions of prejudice in the name of Christ in various kinds of context and media, and for obvious reasons, that journey is deeply personal to me. Growing in knowledge is a commandment. Growing in knowledge means knowing all the truth, not just the parts that make your life more comfortable or make you feel more comfortable. In fact, in a way, many principles of the gospel are designed to actually make sure we're never comfortable, ever teaching us, ever stretching us and challenging us to be better than we were the day before. That's what discipleship looks like. In order to abandon attitudes and actions of prejudice, you have to want to draw closer to the truth, no matter how uncomfortable it might make you feel. Your life experience might be that you grew up in a place that didn't have very many people of color in church or in your community, and consequently, you never had any close attachments to them. Maybe you have greater exposure to them as you've gotten older, but for whatever reason, the attachments you formed with people of color were still relatively loose. You might feel anxious about the heightened racial tension you and the rest of the country have been forced to confront over the last several years. Last summer, after the killing of George Floyd, maybe you witnessed Black people mourn on social media and in other places in your life. But you've also watched many friends, family members, and other white associates from school, work, and even church respond with apathy or even hostility. This was painful, and it's confusing to you. You know racism is wrong, and you want to honor the prophet's call to, quote, lead out in abandoning attitudes and actions of prejudice. But you're not sure how to do that, nor are you comfortable with conversations on race. You want to learn how you can heed the prophet's call and how to improve your ability to do it. I want to show you how to lead out in abandoning attitudes and actions of prejudice. But you have to be willing to go to that uncomfortable place to gain more knowledge. In this class, I'll help you have more confidence in your conversations about race, a better framework through which to identify racism and minister to those dealing with it, and a knowledge of how to engage in honest, intentional, protracted learning about race so that you can heed the prophet's call to the best of your ability. You'll also learn how to build meaningful relationships with those different from you, and things you can do as early as today to help you lead out in abandoning attitudes of prejudice. You will understand how these skills will put you in a better position to honor your covenants, to comfort those that stand in need of comfort, mourn with those that mourn, and to stand as a witness of God at all times and in all things and in all places. I'm James C. Jones. Welcome to class.